reflected the best version of himself. When a good woman enters a man's life, she doesn't come to compete with his ego. She comes to heal it, to nurture it, to remind him of what he could be if he chose truth over pride. She brings calm where chaos lived, clarity where confusion thrived, and love where wounds hid. But when that kind of woman is hurt, when her loyalty is met with betrayal, her softness with cruelty, her patience with neglect, something irreversible happens. The man may think Hes proving control. He may mistake her silence for weakness, her forgiveness for naivety. But he doesn't see that every time he dismisses her kindness, Hes chiseling away the one bridge that connected him to light. You don't damage a woman like that and walk away unchanged. You carry the consequences in your conscience. A good woman doesn't explode when she's hurt. She absorbs it. She goes quiet not because she's weak, but because she's recalibrating her strength. Her silence isn't surrender, it's evolution. She stops explaining herself to those who only hear what feeds their comfort. She stops defending her intentions to those who weaponize her emotions. And slowly she rebuilds not to prove anything to him, but to remind herself who she truly was before he forgot her worth. Here's the truth: when you hurt a good woman, she doesn't come back the same. She learns boundaries that no apology can cross. She becomes selective, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. She starts seeing not what people say, but what they consistently do. She no longer chases validation, she embodies it. And the man eventually feels it, maybe not immediately, but inevitably. One day he looks around and realizes that no one else listens to him like she did, believes in him like she did, or loves him without conditions. He starts missing the very peace he once took for granted. That's when the guilt sets in, not because he lost her, but because he destroyed something pure within himself. Understand this: hurting a good woman is not just an act of cruelty, it's a declaration of your own immaturity. It reveals your fear of depth, your discomfort with honesty, and your inability to receive what you don't feel you deserve. The problem was never her, not proving power, you're exposing weakness. True strength isn't in control, it's in care. Any man can play with emotions, few can protect them. Any fool can win a woman's body. It takes a real man to deserve her trust. And if you've already hurt one, the redemption isn't in begging her back, it's in becoming the kind of man who would never repeat the same mistake. Learn from the silence she left behind. Let the emptiness she created force you to face yourself, because what follows after hurting a good woman isn't karma, it's consequence. A mirror held up to the parts of you that refuse to grow. But to the good woman who was hurt, remember, this: you are not broken, you are awakened. You've seen the cost of giving love without boundaries, and now you'll never love blindly again. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. Your peace is the loudest revenge. Your growth is the final word. When a man wounds a good woman, he thinks Hes asserting control. He thinks that by pulling away, by speaking harshly, by betraying trust, or by taking her for granted, Hes proving strength. But the truth is far more tragic. Every time he hurts her, Hes not destroying her, Hes dismantling himself, because a good woman's love is a mirror. It reflects back the truth of who he is and who he could become. And when he shatters that mirror, Hes left to face his own emptiness without the reflection that once gave him purpose. A good woman doesn't come into a man's life to challenge his power. She comes to nurture it. She believes in his potential, even when he doubts himself. She stands beside him when others walk away. She protects his name, supports his dreams, and gives him a sense of calm in a world that never stops demanding. But when that kind of woman is wounded deeply, deliberately, something inside her shifts forever. At first, she'll question herself. Was I not enough? Did I love too much? She'll replay moments, words, and silences, because good women always take responsibility, even for the pain they didn't cause. But with time, she realizes that her love was never the problem. It was his inability to receive it. He mistook her grace for weakness, her softness for submission, and her loyalty for dependence. He confused dominance with disrespect, thinking control makes him strong. But true strength doesn't destroy what's pure, it protects it. Wounding a good woman doesn't break her, it awakens her. She rises from the pain, sharper, wiser, and more discerning. Her love doesn't vanish, it transforms. It turns from blind compassion into sacred boundaries. Where she once gave endlessly, she now chooses carefully. Where she once explained herself, she now walks away quietly. That's not bitterness, that's growth. Because the moment she realizes that her peace matters more than proving her worth, she becomes untouchable. The man who hurt her, though he begins to feel the echo, maybe not immediately, but inevitably. One day, he looks at another woman and realizes there's no spark like hers. He remembers the laughter that no longer exists, the softness he no longer deserves, the loyalty he will never find again. And that's when it hits him. He didn't lose, just her. He lost the version of himself that she helped him build. You see, dominance without emotional maturity is destruction. It's the illusion of control hiding the fear of vulnerability. When a man wounds a good woman, it's not because she deserved it, it's because he couldn't face the parts of himself that she brought to light. She saw him too clearly, cared too deeply, and loved too truly, and that terrified him. So instead of growing through that love, he ran from it, and in doing so, he lost something priceless. The tragedy is many men realize this too late. By the time they understand that gentleness is not weakness, that respect is not submission, that partnership is not control, she's already gone. Her silence has replaced her support. Her distance has replaced her devotion. And while he may chase replacements, none will match the peace she once offered so freely. For the good woman, her healing becomes her legacy. She learns that she doesn't need to be understood to be valued. She doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. Her new boundaries become her strength. She no longer chases, she attracts. She no longer explains, she embodies. She no longer pleads for love, she commands respect simply by existing in her truth. And here's the paradox: the man who once thought dominance defined power eventually realizes that the real power was in her grace, in her ability to forgive, to love, to nurture, to build. But by the time he understands that, she's already too far ahead, walking in peace, untouched by the storm he created. So remember this: hurting a good woman might make a man feel powerful in the moment, but it guarantees his downfall in the long run. Because every act of disrespect erodes his own integrity. Every lie poisons his soul. Every betrayal burns the bridge back to his better self. Wounding a good woman is not power, it's proof that he's afraid of real strength. And the woman, she walks away not as a victim, but as a survivor who has mastered her value. She doesn't hate him. She thanks him for teaching her what to never accept again. Because in the end, when a man wounds a good woman, he's writing his own decline. But when she heals, she rises, wiser, calmer, and infinitely stronger. Word count 810. Tone fierce, emotionally intelligent, motivational, written in a strong lecture-style rhythm, inspired by Jordan Peterson's depth and Methew Hussy's relationship insight. When a man meets a good woman, he stands at a crossroads that will reveal everything about who he truly is. Because how a man handles kindness, patience, loyalty, and love says more about his inner world than any words, achievements, or promises ever could. Some men see goodness and rise to match it. Others see it and exploit it. The difference between the two is not luck, it's character. A good woman doesn't demand perfection. She doesn't need luxury, grand gestures, or hollow flattery. What she craves is depth, consistency, effort, and respect. She gives freely because she loves deeply. But when a man takes that goodness and uses it as a weapon when he lies, manipulates, or takes her for granted, he exposes not her weakness, but his emptiness. The way a man treats goodness is a mirror of his own soul, and if he cannot honor it, It's because he has not yet faced his own shadows. Goodness tests a man more than temptation ever will. Temptation asks, do you want this? But goodness asks, do you deserve this? When a man hurts a woman who came into his life with genuine care, has not proving power, has proving unworthiness, because real power never destroys what's pure, it protects it. Real masculinity doesn't fear vulnerability, it respects it. And only a man at peace within himself can honor a woman who embodies peace. When he fails to do that, when he wounds her, betrays her trust, or mocks her sincerity, something changes. The woman he thought would always be there begins to detach, not in anger, but in awakening. Pain becomes her teacher. She learns that kindness without boundaries invites chaos, that forgiveness doesn't mean access, that love without reciprocity is not love, it's self-abandonment. Her pain refines her. It strips away illusion. It transforms her heart from something soft and unguarded into something sacred and selective. She still has grace, but now it's guarded by wisdom. She still has love, but now it's protected by discernment. Her presence becomes rare, her energy becomes priceless, and her peace becomes non-negotiable. That's what pain does to a good woman. It doesn't harden her, it elevates her. It turns her into someone untouchable, not because she builds walls, but because she grows wings. She stops running toward people who drain her and starts walking toward places that nourish her. She becomes the woman who smiles but doesn't chase, who loves but doesn't settle, who forgives but never forgets the lesson. And the man who once wounded her, he begins to feel the emptiness of what he lost. He looks for her energy in others but finds only fragments. He meets beauty without depth, attention without meaning, attraction without connection, because what he once had was not just a woman, it was a reflection of the better man he could become. You see, the way a man treats a good woman isn't just about relationships. It's a spiritual test. It reveals whether Hess ruled by ego or guided by soul. The ego wants control. The soul seeks connection. The ego demands obedience. The soul offers understanding. The ego takes, the soul protects. When a man chooses ego, he loses her. But when he chooses soul, he earns her. And for the woman, pain becomes her power. It teaches her that peace is not found in others, but built within. She no longer begs for love, she becomes it. She no longer looks for validation, she embodies it. Her worth no longer depends on being chosen. It shines because she chooses herself. So when a good woman transforms through pain, she doesn't seek revenge. She doesn't crumble. She evolves. Her silence becomes louder than her cries ever were. Her stillness becomes her statement. And while the man is left searching for the woman he broke, she's already reborn, softer in tone, but sharper in vision. Let this be understood: the way a man treats goodness is the ultimate confession of his soul. Because goodness doesn't just expose weakness, it exposes truth. And when pain touches a good woman, it doesn't destroy her, it anoints her. She becomes grace armed with wisdom, love clothed in boundaries, and strength wrapped in serenity. In the end, she walks with quiet power. Not because she won, but because she understood. She learned that not everyone deserves access to her light, and not every soul is capable of recognizing gold when it holds it. When a good woman finally walks away, it is not an act of defeat, it is an act of divine clarity. For too long, she gave him the benefit of the doubt. For too long, she believed that his potential was stronger than his patterns. She hoped that love could be enough to awaken him, to make him see what he was destroying. But when she walks away, it means something inside her has died, not her love, but her hope that hell ever change. And in that moment, he doesn't just lose her. He loses his only chance to redeem himself through the kind of love most men spend a lifetime searching for. A good woman's love is not ordinary. It is healing, patient, forgiving, and full of light. She sees your pain before you speak it, and she stands by you when the world doubts you. She believes in the version of you that you haven't even become yet, and that belief that loyalty is a sacred gift. But when a man repeatedly wounds her, lies to her, or treats her as if she's replaceable, he chips away at something eternal. Hes not breaking her trust, Hes breaking his own bridge to redemption, because redemption is not found in apologies. It's found in change. It's found in consistency. It's found in facing your reflection and saying, I will no longer destroy what loves me. But when she finally walks away, it's because she has realized that his comfort mattered more to him than her pain. She has realized that his ego was louder than his accountability. And she has realized that waiting for him to grow is costing her peace, a price too heavy for any heart to keep paying. When she walks away, she's not doing it in anger. She's doing it in awakening. She's walking toward herself, toward the woman she was before she started dimming her light to keep someone else comfortable. She's not walking away from love. She's walking away from illusion, from manipulation, from empty promises dressed in affection. She's walking away from the idea that love means suffering. And here's the truth: when she leaves, he will feel it. Not immediately, because men who take goodness for granted never notice what they're losing until it's gone. But eventually, when the noise quiets and the distractions fade, he'll start to remember her voice, her calm, her laughter, her faith in him. Hell replay the moments when she stood by him at his lowest, when she believed in him before he believed in himself, and it will hit him. She was the one person who saw his light when he was buried in darkness. That realization will not bring peace. It will bring regret, because when she walks away, he doesn't just lose companionship. He loses the mirror that reflected the best version of himself. Every good woman carries the power to heal, but she is not responsible for saving someone who refuses to save himself. And once she understands that, she doesn't turn back. The tragedy is that most men confuse her silence for indifference. They think she stopped caring, but her silence is not indifference, it's exhaustion. She has said all she needed to say. She has cried all she could cry. Now, she's done speaking pain into ears that have no intention of listening. When she walks away quietly, that's when she's the most serious. Because silence is the sound of closure. He might try to return later with words that sound sincere, with eyes that look guilty. But what hell find is a different woman. A woman who no longer seeks apologies because she no longer needs them. A woman who no longer begs for effort because she has learned to give it to herself. The softness remains, but it's now guarded by strength. The love remains, but it's now filtered through wisdom. She has learned that not everyone deserves a second chance, and that not every connection deserves resurrection. And as for him, his loss is permanent, because he didn't just lose her presence, he lost his opportunity for redemption through her forgiveness. Some lessons arrive only after the door has closed, and by then, the only thing left is reflection. He will realize that while she has moved forward in peace, he's left behind with guilt, because redemption is not possible without humility, and humility is born only in the absence of what we once took for granted. She, on the other hand, flourishes. She rebuilds herself from the ashes he left behind. Her strength becomes quieter but deeper. Her love becomes rarer but purer. And while he remains haunted by what he lost, she becomes unshakable, not because she won, but because she chose herself when he wouldn't choose her. So when she walks away, understand she's not losing him. Hess losing the woman who believed in his better nature, the woman who loved him through his storms, the woman who offered him redemption through her forgiveness. And that loss is eternal, because there is no redemption without recognition, and there is no healing without humility. She walks away, not to punish him, but to protect her soul. And in doing so, she becomes free from the cycle, free from the chaos, free from the illusion that love means enduring pain. She doesn't lose anything when she leaves. She gains everything that was waiting on the other side of her strength. And he remains where she left him, at the edge of his own unhealed heart, staring into the space where her love once stood, realizing too late that he didn't lose her. He lost his only chance to become better because of her. Pain is not her ending, it is her awakening. When a good woman endures heartbreak, betrayal, or disappointment, she doesn't simply recover, she evolves. The version of her that rises after the storm is no longer naive, no longer begging for validation, and no longer trying to prove her worth. Pain doesn't destroy her, it refines her. It strips away illusion, exposes truth, and shapes her into something the world cannot manipulate again. A good woman begins her journey with pure intentions. She gives fully, listens deeply, and believes in love without strategy. She sees potential in people even when they show her patterns. Her heart is open, her trust sincere, her patience endless. But when that goodness meets betrayal, when that loyalty is met with deceit, something fundamental shifts inside her. She realizes that love without boundaries becomes self-destruction. She learns that not everyone deserves access to her softness. Pain becomes her teacher, cold, honest, and necessary. It whispers lessons she didn't want to hear, but needed to learn. It teaches her that not every apology is change. It shows her that consistency speaks louder than charm. It reminds her that sometimes the ones she would done anything for would do nothing for her. And in that realization, she doesn't grow bitter. She grows discerning. This transformation is quiet but powerful. She no longer argues to be understood. She no longer explains her worth to those who don't see it. Her energy shifts from proving to protecting, from chasing to choosing, from hoping to observing. And that shift makes her untouchable. Not because she is hardened, but because she now walks in awareness. Her love is still deep, but it's guarded by boundaries. Her compassion is still vast, but it's filtered through wisdom. Pain strips her of illusions, but gifts her with truth, and truth is liberation. She begins to see people not for who they could be, but for who they consistently are. She recognizes red flags she used to excuse. She honors her intuition instead of silencing it. She stops trying to heal others and starts healing herself. And through that healing, she becomes something rare, a woman who no longer fears losing people because she has found herself. The man who once hurt her may not recognize her anymore. The same words that once broke her now hold no power. The same silence that used to wound her now feels like peace. She no longer reacts, she reflects. She no longer pleads, she pauses. Because pain has taught her the difference between attachment and alignment. And now she chooses alignment every time. What makes her untouchable is not arrogance, it's self-respect. It's the calm that comes from knowing she doesn't need to fight for what meant for her. It's the grace that comes from realizing she can forgive without returning. Her peace is her weapon, and her growth is her revenge. She doesn't wish anyone pain, she simply wishes herself freedom. And here's what few understand: when pain transforms a good woman, she doesn't lose her empathy. She just stops offering it to those who abuse it. Her heart still loves, but wisely. Her time still gives, but selectively. Her presence still heals, but not for those who refuse to value it. Her energy becomes sacred ground. Not everyone is invited. That transformation terrifies those who once took her for granted, because they see that she no longer needs them to feel complete. The control they once had dissolves. The attention they once demanded is no longer given freely. She becomes a standard they can no longer meet, not because she has changed too much, but because they've stayed too small. Pain gives her power not to dominate others, but to govern herself, to say no without guilt, to walk away without explaining, to rest without apology, to demand respect not through words, but through the calm assurance of her presence. She no longer confuses suffering with loyalty. She no longer sacrifices peace for connection. She no longer saves those who drown by choice. In that evolution, she embodies the rarest combination: grace and wisdom. Grace that forgives but doesn't forget. Wisdom that loves but doesn't lose itself. She becomes a woman who can hold compassion in one hand and boundaries in the other. A woman who can look at her past not with bitterness but with gratitude, because pain made her powerful, but peace made her whole. And for those who encounter her now, they feel it instantly. Her energy demands respect before she even speaks. There's a serenity in her presence, a quiet authority that doesn't need to prove itself. She doesn't chase validation because her validation comes from within. She doesn't beg for love because she has already become it. So yes, pain changes her, but not in the way the world expects. It doesn't make her cold, it makes her clear. It doesn't make her cruel, it makes her careful. It doesn't make her unreachable, it makes her rare. And that rarity, that fusion of grace and wisdom is her crown. She wears it not as armor, but as truth. Because the woman who has walked through pain and kept her heart pure is not broken, she's sacred. And when pain transforms a good woman into something untouchable, it's not because she's unreachable. It's because she finally understands her worth and will never again negotiate it.